It's not that I don't like it. It's that I'm learning, There's growing pains to learning new skills.
I always associate growing pains with arrogant little boys assuming that, their little wieners are getting bigger. Like, heh, growing pains.
What does that mean? You just explained it, and I'm all the more confused.
What? You've never heard that? You never made that connection?
No, I've never heard growing pains as a reference to puberty. No, okay,
It's
puberty,
part of
yes.
puberty, is it not?
Puberty, yes, but I've never heard of growing pains, because usually it's just like, oh, he's getting taller, so he's bumping into things. Not, oh, he's getting taller, he's bumping into things. Like, it's not.
Wait, just introduce the show.
Introduce the show. This can't be the top of the show. Jesus Christ.
Well, it is if you do the intro.
Welcome to Consume Content. We're here to solve the age-old problem. 500 streaming channels, nothing to watch. It's just not true. We have a list of things here. I'm shaking a list.
Why are you showing the list? It's not impressive.
What do you mean it's not impressive?
You couldn't even fill the page.
It's 30.
It's not even full.
You asshole. I'm working on it, okay? I have a job. I have a full-time job. I do things with my time. Jesus Christ. Okay. I have a job, okay? I have a job.
It's one sheet of paper, Joe.
I'm very busy, okay? I'm very busy. This list is getting longer, all right? There's at least 10 plus items since we last spoke earlier this week, okay? Since the last episode, right? Now, I can talk about any number of these things. Let's just go with what I told you I talked about last time, which is Kong Skull Island.
Did you finish introing the show?
That's the intro, other than our names. Yeah, but that's going to be like...
Did you named the podcast, right?
Yeah, I said this is Consume Content, the answer to the age-old question, 500 streaming channels and nothing to watch.
Sorry, I stopped listening to you.
That's okay. I rewrite the tagline like every fucking... This is the third episode I've rewritten the tagline every time.
I got the tagline, but I just didn't hear you say... You know what?
What?
Every time I go to record, or I mean, it's only been a couple times now, but whenever I record and I start the recording, my audio, I have to put in a file name, so I want to name it the show to organize, and I always have to pause. I can't remember what this damn show is called. It's so boring. Consume Content.
It's supposed to be like ominous, like obey, like just...
Obey.
Yeah, the artist with the Andre the Giant's face, and then it just says obey. It's supposed.
I just wouldn't make that connection, but
Well,
I get what you're saying.
That's just what I was going for, right?
The titling, the profile picture, like on the YouTube page and all that, it looks great. I'm not trying to bag on you, even though I am completely, but.
It's okay.
I just, for some reason, just the name, I didn't, even though you said you introed it just now, I just didn't even remember it. I didn't even acknowledge that.
I may have to work on that then. If you can't remember the name of the podcast, then a lot of people aren't going to remember the name of the podcast either.
Yeah, it could be.
Oh boy.
Sorry. So
I wanted
Kong Skull Island.
Kong Skull Island, right? We're having fun. But I do want us to stay on point, because that was a criticism last time that we took too long to get to the main topic.
Well, let's just roll that into the back of our minds. Let's not like point it out and focus on it.
I mean, I can't help myself.
I know it's okay.
But anyway, so today we're talking about Kong Skull Island. Have you seen Kong Skull Island, or is this also a movie we've seen together?
Can't wait for you to make that clip. I have seen it. I don't think... You know what? I have a story about when I saw this movie. We didn't see it together, so no, don't worry about that.
Okay.
I can start with my story, or we can just like kind of give...
No, tell me your story.
I don't know, synopsis of it. Well, the year was 2017.
What, did it really come out 2017? Let me Google that.
Oh,
okay.
shit. I know I was working at the movie theater.
Yeah.
I used to work at a movie theater, but I was there for a few years, so I don't know
That's true.
exactly when. But I think it
Oh,
was pretty early
it was,
on.
It was 2017.
It was 2017, right?
Okay.
So I was working at a movie theater, so I saw all the movies for free, whatever movie I wanted to see. So that movie came out, and I went to go see it. And before we get into the actual movie itself, like a review or like a rating of it or anything, it was good. It was perfectly good. But at the time I was working at the movie theater. I was in the concession stand, and for some reason, and it was a Regal. It's a Regal movie theater. They're like pretty much any basic American movie theater. They sell at the concession stand like 5 things: popcorn and drinks, hot dog, if you're lucky, hamburgers, chicken tenders. A slightly more extended menu. And my theater was pretty big, like one of the main theaters in the area for Regal. So they had like a few extra, like they had the hamburger, you could add cheese and bacon to it. We had cheese sticks, all the fryer food stuff, whatever. It was awful for you. Food was awful. Tasted great though. But so they started the whole time, because I had been there for like over a year at that point. The whole time the menu never changed, right? Because it's just they sell those basic things. But for some reason, Regal decided to introduce this new product. It was a burger, but it was like a heart attack burger, like the that grill in Vegas where the whole point is to kill yourself through obesity.
Yes, I've heard of this concept.
They created a burger. And I was like, oh, cool. So like, we're gonna get new products in, maybe new beef and new toppings or whatever. But no, they created a burger. It was for a different movie. I'm pretty sure we just had it while Kong was, afterwards when Kong came out, and it was 2 of our. And you would think we would get a bunch of new products into our stock, but no. You basically built this monstrosity out of pieces of what we already had, this horrible fryer food, like all the like 10 ingredients we had in our kitchen. You would make this giant greasy mess out of that. And it was a nightmare working on a busy weekend in a movie theater. And somebody would order one of those because it was 2 hamburger patties, 6 strips of bacon, 3 mozzarella sticks, and like 3 slices of cheese, all in one burger.
Why are there mozzarella sticks on a burger?
On the top, right below the top bun, I guess they just kind of get thrown on there. It's cheese. It's more cheese. There's cheese on a cheeseburger. You just put more cheese. I don't know. Okay. But it's a big greasy mess. So if you're looking for that, it looks really good. And I had it and I tasted it and it was decent. It was just horrible for you, but it was horrible having to make those in the kitchen because if you're slammed, it's a busy weekend and just tons of people and the whole kitchen has to stop because you have to take like 10 whole minutes. One person would have to take like 10 minutes to prepare all of these different pieces of stuff you already had in the kitchen, but then put it together. It was gross. I hated making them.
You're just bringing back my PTSD of working the hot dog cooker. I don't want to remember that. I don't want to.
Did you work at a hot dog stand?
No, I worked at a movie theater too. Remember, I also worked at a movie. I worked at the Cinemark.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I worked at the Cinemark,
That's right.
It was a job,
It's a job, exactly. That's what it was for me.
It's a job you work while trying to work in the industry, and
for me it was a job so I could pay rent.
I mean, me too. There was so I can pay rent and pursue jobs on the weekend, or not the weekend, the weekdays, or whenever I could get jobs. Yeah. But I worked again. So I worked concessions at a movie theater for for like 6 to 8 months, maybe almost a year, and I worked as a grip, an electrician, and art PA, all sorts of jobs in the film industry, while holding jobs down like this to pay bills. And not once was I injured while working in the film industry. Not once. Right? And I had close calls, never once injured. I'd been injured working at a fucking concession stands in a movie theater. All because it was rush hour. It was a Saturday night, Suicide Squad, the David Ayer Suicide Squad came out.
Oh, so the good one.
Came
I'm
out.
kidding.
And
That was an ironic statement. Please don't come for me.
they told us all of the time, make sure you sweep the popcorn. Sweep the popcorn, sweep the popcorn, sweep the popcorn. And we always swept the popcorn, except for the night Suicide Squad came out at the Pack Theater. And a customer asked me for a spoon. And I said, they're in the back. Let me run and get you one. So I ran and I slipped on popcorn and split my elbow open.
It wasn't even like, please help. My nose is bleeding. I need tissues. I need help. He wanted a spoon.
Yeah. Because, like, yeah, he asked for a spoon. Spoons were in the back because we ran out of spoons at the counter. So it's like, I need to go open up a new pack of spoons, sir and or ma'am and or sir. And I slip on popcorn and I split my elbow open. And they were very quick to make sure I had insurance. There's a cat.
There is
Jesus
a cat.
Christ.
I can narrate while Josh is doing this since he can't hear me. Josh is actually, his life is run by these cats. Not just like, just to pass a phrase. They are actually in charge of him. He has no control.
What do you
Sorry, go ahead.
You'll
You'll hear it. You'll find it later.
You're speaking directly to the. I was gonna like.
You'll find out about it later.
I guess I'll cut this, and it's just a little moment of me running into the background to get rid of a cat. But I'm gonna find out what you said. I'm gonna find out what you said.
Listeners or viewers, that saga will continue later. Every time Josh walks away.
Right. Anyway, so where are we?
Yeah,
Long story short, the cat ruined the story, the somewhat interesting story of me slipping on popcorn and splitting my elbow open and having to go to urgent care at midnight on a Saturday night.
Oh shit! You went to urgent care?
I had to go to urgent care. I had to get my fucking elbow stapled shut because I was bleeding profusely, and it was. I think profusely is the correct word. I got back up, tried to go back to work, and then someone told me, "Hey, fool, you're bleeding," and it was blood.
I'm gonna need to know what accent that was.
Don't worry about it. All right, it's North Hollywood. Don't worry about it. Anyway, so
that's North Hollywood.
It wasn't a North Hollywood accent. There is no North Hollywood accent. There's a lot of different people. All right, from Latinos to Eastern Europeans, mainly Eastern Europeans.
Oh, then I was gonna crack a stupid joke. I think NoHo Hank would disagree.
Okay,
if you've seen Barry, you'll know what that means.
You're right. You NoHo Hank. Hi, Betty. Look, would disagree.
Buddy, and his name is actually NoHo Hank.
Hank. And so, great trivia about that actor. He got offered the role for NoHo Hank, and he's like, I don't really have an Eastern European accent. And then Bill Hader is just like, don't worry about it. Just work on it.
That's not the important part.
You're the important part. You're NoHo Hank.
What?
Okay.
Okay, buddy.
Buddy. Okay. That sounds terrible.
Yeah, you were making this comment about how, like, oh, sorry, but the cat interrupted my story. Mm-hmm. You fucking interrupted my story. I wasn't done.
You weren't done? I thought
you interrupted my story with a story.
I'm sorry. I didn't know. I thought that was the point. I thought the Monster Burger was the point.
Well, I mean, it kind of is, but no, there's more. I just described a burger, a gross burger. That was my story. What kind of podcast is this?
I don't know. I'm sorry. You're taking so long to get to the point. I thought that was the point. I'm sorry.
We're filling space here. What do you want
We don't need to fill space. It's a long-ass podcast.
Not that we don't have to, but...
You don't have to. I can say a lot about Kong Skull Island. I'm sorry, Matt.
I'm trying to avoid that. I'm trying to juice up this podcast.
I appreciate you. Okay, you're a dear friend. You're smart. You're wise.
Honestly, it's not even worth the payoff anymore. Even if I finish it, I have to, but it's not going to be worth it.
Oh my god! Should we just leave him hanging? Should we save it to like the last 10 minutes of the podcast?
Oh, that just seems
cruel and unusual.
Yeah, it's
just dangling shady. A berry, just dangling a sweet berry. There's a payoff to this. Well, here's a spoon instead. Anyway, I'm hanging a spoon for audio listeners.
Well, I guess, yeah, we'll get to it later. I'm
get
just
to
going to
it.
yell it out at you right in the middle of the podcast. But
I'm sorry.
to get back on track, I made myself one of these burgers, and the first time the night that I made one of those finally for myself to try was the night I went and saw Kong Skull Island. That's not the end of the story, but that's continuing it. That's where I would have kept going. And I enjoyed the movie. It was good. Where are we at?
I'm waiting for the point. Was that the point?
No, it's just not worth it now.
Why?
I finally ate one of these stupid things. It was so greasy because I mean, already our food was horrible quality and just filled with grease. I ate it, struggled to stay awake through the movie, which was pretty good. I love a big monkey, big action movie, but I struggled to stay awake. I did because the movie was decent. I went home next morning. I had a poop, as most people do. For the first time in like 10 years, my poop floated. That's how unhealthy the burger was.
What do you mean your poop floated for that? Like you track that? It goes
No. I mean, I guess you don't really think about it, but it just like, wow, that I could tell why that's happening. And I'm pretty sure I hadn't seen that in a long time.
Oh my god, I'm gonna have to.
I told you it wasn't worth the payoff. This episode's a mess. You should probably cut all that out.
I don't know. Maybe, do you want to start over? We can.
No.
We're only 17 minutes in.
No, we'll see how this one plays.
That's okay. Henry's
only 17 minutes.
We're only 17 minutes in. Henry's gonna complain about it. Like if I leave this 17 minutes in, he's gonna be like, I think you guys didn't listen to my advice about getting to the point.
Okay, but I don't know Henry, and I have no issue with Henry. But
it's okay.
He's not the arbiter of all podcasts.
He's not. So fuck him. It's it is what it is at this point. All right, he can come on in this podcast at any moment. I've invited him. I don't know. He's worried about matching energy, but I think he would be great to have on. Henry, I fucking
That's
dare
a great
you to
tease.
come on.
Henry, we're gonna need you on at some point.
Henry, I fucking dare you to come on. All right, I'll blur your face. I still need you on camera, but I'll blur your face.
Can we start him off as like he has some piece of information about a movie we're talking about, but he doesn't want to be revealed, even though we're gonna put his name on it, and he does be like
he does
in
work
shadow, fully pixelated.
He does work in the industry on some projects, and so technically he is under NDA. I mean, I won't allude to like how important the projects are. They're not that big.
You mean that you can't, because then he would have violated his NDA.
Exactly. Like he hasn't told me anything about his projects.
Josh, I'm covering your ass.
He hasn't told me anything at all.
Stop.
No, he hasn't. He really hasn't.
Stop it.
He's not allowed to talk about his projects, as is normal in the industry, right? So we can, in order to protect his identity, right? I can't just like, we can just make him like a shadowy figure, and like potentially even like muffle his voice. We can do that.
That's what I was picturing.
Mm-hmm. We're having too much fun though. We're having too much fun lampooning Henry.
Describe, Josh. Hey, this movie that we're talking about, I haven't seen it in a long time. Could you describe it in a brief 2 to 3 sentences or more?
It's gonna be more.
That's fine. That's why I said or more.
It's gonna be way more than 2 sentences, because I love this movie.
Remind me of what happens. Give me the the strong points.
So everybody when you say King Kong, everybody thinks of the more recent, Peter Jackson version, right, or the classic, right, which is the traditional story. Movie producer or group of people go to Skull Island. They find the giant monkey Kong, and then they bring Kong to New York as a sort of exhibit, the eighth wonder of the world, right? And then he's let loose in Manhattan and starts fighting a bunch of planes, and he's tragically killed. It's an allegory. It's a classic tale. This is not that Kong at all. This is a Kong that takes place in Vietnam. It's Well, actually, it doesn't take place in Vietnam. That's an
Wait,
oversimplification because
well,
it takes place during the Vietnam War, and Skull Island.
it's
It
basically Vietnam
it's
in this movie.
it's basically
But
Vietnam.
where
It is an
is
allegory
the
for Vietnam.
where's the original Kong from? Like in the original movies?
Skull Island.
No, but where is that? Is that just an island in the middle of the Pacific, or
I think
is
it
it
is
located
like
somewhere else? Or?
I think it's like relative. I think it's like around somewhere around Africa. I think, right? This is a
Is
little
that the
too.
shape? Is that the shape of Africa?
Here's Africa, right?
Yeah,
Here's
what part are you grabbing?
here's the Horn of Africa, right? Horn of
Okay, now
Africa.
there's a horn. Good.
There's the Horn of Africa. I think that's what it's called, right? So South Africa is right here at the bottom, right? Apartheid, Nelson Mandela, all that jazz, right? And then there's like the island of Madagascar right here, right? And then there's a lot of ocean, right?
Why is?
There's a lot of ocean.
Do you understand what this looks like, right?
Get your head out of
Wax
the
on,
gutter.
wax off, Miyagi.
Okay, yeah, wax on, wax off, right? Anyway, it's a lot of ocean. Somewhere there, I presume, right?
You could have taken 2 seconds to say, yeah, somewhere in the Pacific, middle of the Pacific.
Oh, I could have taken 2 seconds. Whatever. Anyway, so you're right. I could have taken 2 seconds to say, I don't know. They look like black people in the original movies.
Can you?
Is that what you wanted me to say? Anyway, it's tribal people, tribal indigenous people, usually dark skinned. Okay.
You're over there, right? I'm
Yeah,
pointing my
I am
finger
over
at
here.
you.
I'm over here. You have the correct direction for the finger pointing. Anyway, in Kong Skull Island, they look more Asian than African. So
Yeah, you're right.
that's it. They just do, and they don't speak. But anyway, that's not really a spoiler. But I'm not really selling Kong Skull Island right now. I'm just saying Kong Skull Island is such an unlazy film in terms of almost every aspect of the filmmaking process, in my opinion. That's why I adore it so much. Like, one, I love I don't just specifically love giant monkeys. I mean, but I like,
To each their own.
I do like, giant monster movies. I like sci-fi. I like that sort of thing, right? And I like this reinvention of Kong to be used as, well, not necessarily a reinvention, because the original story, one of the proposed theses about the original story was that was about like sort of the enslavement of animals and of people, and being taken from their indigenous homes and then brought to the West, quote unquote, the West, or civilization as it is, and then being exploited and abused, right? Same way the freak shows would, the circuses would, the way a lot of human beings were displaced just throughout history, right? So it became Kong, the original King Kong, I think became a story about that over time and the tragedy of that, right? Because Kong is just has his own nature. He just wants to be free. He wants to be out. He escapes, and they put him down. And that's the sad ending of Kong, right? This version of Kong is very similar in the sense where the U.S. military and other characters who sort of represent other U.S. interests arrive at Skull Island for...
You mean Loki and Captain Marvel? Yeah.
Yes, Loki and Captain Marvel, who are in this movie. Brie Larson and Tom Hiddleston, as well as Samuel L. Jackson, John Goodman, John C. Reilly, and other people. That's top billing right there. Top billing. Great cast. Great cast.
Yeah, it was good.
The
cast was pretty decent.
Obviously, I'm gonna avoid spoilers. But no, I just love this movie because nothing about this movie is lazy. The cast is great. The writing is great. Again, getting back on point two, this allegory of like, this is Kong's home. Don't fuck with Kong. This is his home, and the U.S. military just comes in and starts fucking shit up. They just start fucking shit up, and of course, Kong retaliates. I mean, I'm trying not to spoil, so I'm not saying specifically what they do upon arrival, but
yeah. But remind me, If I recall, they didn't go. They didn't come here in search of Kong. They didn't
No,
know Kong was a
they
thing.
they had no clue about giant animals or giant monsters. Again, this is Cold War. They were just trying to get to the island first.
So
They're trying
how
to
did
beat
the
the Russians.
island? Yeah, how did it come about? Did someone discover it on a map and then both sides of the Cold War heard about it and then they were racing to get to it?
Sort of, yeah. It was a satellite imagery, right? So satellites, being relatively new, flew over this hemisphere of the planet, and they're like, "There's an island here in Southeast Asia, and Russian satellites will be flying over it soon, orbiting around it soon, and then they'll see on. So whatever is on this island, we should get to it first." Is the argument being made to the U.S. senator in question, right? It's I don't want to like spoil or say
Well,
much
tell
of
me,
anything.
let
What's up?
me let me ask you then, what is your plan here, at least for this episode with this movie? Do you want to spoil it, or
No.
I'm assuming not, because the idea is you're trying to sell it,
Yeah.
tell
Based
people
off the
it's
yeah.
something you may have missed, it's a good piece of content, you should
Mm-hmm.
go watch it.
I think if you want a fun movie about a giant monkey, the U.S. Army versus a giant monkey, this is your movie. Just to put it in simplest terms, it's a fun movie. It's a fun adventure movie because it's about a bunch of people who get stranded on an island and there's giant monsters everywhere. It's not just a giant monkey. There's all sorts of
It's
dangers.
monkey killers.
There's monkey killers as well. Kong wasn't the only giant monkey a long time ago, but he's the last one standing. So
Well,
there's some he's the last one
couldn't- he-
standing.
Yeah,
What?
but he couldn't be the only one. Where would he have come from?
That's what I'm saying. He wasn't the only one, but he's the last one. He's the last one standing.
Yeah, but
He survived when the others
Yeah,
were murdered.
no, that's not the point I was making. But yeah, you're right.
I don't understand. I'm
No, you're
Lost.
fine. You're fine. You're fine.
It's okay.
But I think we should point out then, if you haven't seen this movie,
Mm-hmm.
this is in the series of the Godzilla versus Kong movies. There are 4 movies out now in that series, the
Yes.
the giant monster series.
But this is his standalone origin movie. So
Yes,
you can watch this
but-
one by itself.
Yeah. But I think it's worth noting because this same character, Kong,
Mm-hmm.
in this universe, is the same one in Godzilla versus Kong.
Yes.
So if you've seen that movie, then yes, there was a prequel where, not a prequel, but a preceding movie that explains like where he came from, why why we suddenly know about this monkey, and like why this organization just ends up with him in a giant, wasn't it a giant bubble or something?
No, it wasn't a giant bubble. It was, I would say,
It was like
I
a
d-
dome. They had him in a
they
gigantic
they
cage.
did have him in a dome. They did have him in a dome. That's the bubble you're talking about. Yes, I feel like they just like I hated how they treated Skull Island in that movie, and just like
Yeah, I'm just saying, if obviously we're trying to reach out to people and say, hey, if this is a movie you missed, you might want to go check it out.
if you're yeah,
You might have seen other movies, and these movies are connected to this one
Mm-hmm.
directly.
I would say Godzilla versus Kong, also a fun movie, right?
Yeah,
Also a fun movie if you like giant monsters and giant monkeys fighting each other. It's great. It's an excellent popcorn flick. But I'm saying with Kong Skull Island specifically, there is more to that movie than just a giant monkey. I feel
Yeah,
in this movie, go on.
no, I was just gonna say, I will mention that I feel this one definitely stands apart. Obviously, the other 3 movies have Godzilla in the name. It's those are mainly Godzilla movies. But yeah, for some reason, this one feels very different compared to those.
I've watched a lot of Godzilla movies. Godzilla movies are popcorn flicks. They're popcorn flicks. There's
Yeah.
usually not much depth to them, right? And I've watched a lot of the older ones.
Don't you sit there and tell me the Roland Emmerich, Matthew Broderick, what was it, 2001 Godzilla movie wasn't a work of art.
It wasn't. I'm brave.
No, it was.
I'm
Yeah,
a
it
brave
was.
boy for saying it. It was no. It was. That's a popcorn flick. 'Cause what I don't understand is like, why is that movie trashed on, while the other Godzillas get a free pass. It's like it makes no sense. Like for me, they're all on the same level of quality. It's just like Godzilla shows up, people freak out, Godzilla fucks some shit up, people fight back, Godzilla continues to fuck shit up. There was something else at play, some other evil force. Godzilla defeats other evil force, and then Godzilla goes back into the water. Or Godzilla dies, or Godzilla has to defeat another monster, greater evil, whatever. Right? Like, the sort of the one interesting thing that they play off with Godzilla is that, like, he is a force of nature. Like, in the ecosystem, in the balance of the planet, he is the most dominant creature, and he balances everything else out. So he gets rid of anything that would destroy the planet as his role. That's his role in nature. That's interesting, right? And then,
that's a big part of his what was his like lore, his not his
yeah.
I guess his arc, but just kind of his mythos.
But then as soon as you start bringing in the I'm talking about like the original movies, as soon as you bring in, you know, people dressed up as aliens from the 60s, then it's you can pretty much throw all of that out. It goes like, but he's defending the planet. It goes, yeah, but he doesn't give a shit about you or your family or anything else. He's just a creature responding to a threat in his environment, and that's not even being commented on in those movies where aliens begin to manipulate events or bring in other monsters just to fight Godzilla, so that like once they get rid of Godzilla, they can invade the planet. Like, Godzilla saved us from the alien invasion again. Like, okay, but these goofy ass aliens, goofy ass fucking aliens. There's always like a government alien conspiracy. Those movies are just so hard for me to retain my attention to, right? They're popcorn flicks. They're pretty much made for kids. They're good. They're a product of their time, right?
Yeah.
But I've never seen like a really good Godzilla movie. Like there's no, like, I wouldn't. I guess to tie this back around, like, there's reasons why I would recommend Kong Skull Island. It's really fun, but then also thoughtful and allegorical, and just not lazy at all, right? And a super modern film with fully stylized and realized. Like, the direction of it is just great. The characters are amazing, so well grounded. I can't say that for Godzilla movies. I can't say it. Like, I don't want to talk shit about Godzilla, because I do love Godzilla. I love me a giant monster fighting a giant robot or a giant animal. I love it. But I wouldn't, it's one of those things. They're like closer to a guilty pleasure. Like, I wouldn't tell anybody I watch this. Like, it's...
Yeah. Well, I think between the two of them, Godzilla and Kong, they're so easily comparable. They've been around for a similar amount of time. Well, basically just too long to even, most people to think about. There's old classics, old black and white classics. And from there have been so many remakes, including like a current, I looked it up. It's called the MonsterVerse, which
Yeah.
I guess I'm not surprised. But a current series of films that are describing these monsters. And yeah, you're right. I think there has been a lot more art when it comes to King Kong, and there's been, well, it's also, I guess it's kind of the origins. That's a part of it, because Godzilla was originally Japanese, right?
Yeah. So,
and then King Kong was originally an American film.
Yeah. So King Kong. Well, actually, is King Kong originally American? The story, I mean. But I know, yeah, like Godzilla. Obviously, everyone knows it was the creation. It was a post World War II creation of the Japanese. The result of Godzilla was created by nuclear fallout in the original lore, I believe, and that it was man's destructive capabilities, the consequences of man's destructive technology being wrought back upon them.
Right.
Nature responding to man's ever growing capabilities for destruction. Again, extremely
I mean,
interesting. It's like
yeah,
such a wonderful
that's
concept. But then, it suffers from what a lot of people worry about Marvel, which is like 10 movies in, 20 movies in, it begins to lose its meaning, and it just sort of becomes this machine, you know? And that's what I feel Godzilla is. Man, is that a hot take? That am I gonna piss off some Godzilla fans? Like it's
I think.
because
Well, that's kind of what I was saying. They've been around so long.
yeah,
No matter what time period you come from, there's these stories have been around. There's been variations of King Kong and Godzilla from wherever you know that there's always been something. You're gonna no matter what you're gonna piss off someone because
yeah,
unless someone's like I don't care about monsters, then they're gonna feel one way about it.
yeah.
I
Like
think the two
I
of
don't
us were
think I'm
pro
gonna piss anybody.
monster. We can just leave it at that.
Yeah, we're pro monster. I don't think anybody's gonna be mad that I think Godzilla's not that great. It's not that King
I
Kong.
disagree.
King Kong. I really like this King Kong. This is good King Kong because
Yeah.
he's just a big monkey. That's all he is.
Also, I believe the first King Kong film was King Kong in 1933, an American film.
Oh, okay.
But
Was it based
I
off
don't know.
anything?
That's what I was wondering. I don't know that it comes from something else. Probably, I would assume. But I mean, that'd be kind of cool if the first iteration of this was just the movie back in the 30s.
Yeah, 1933. That's post World War One. You know, during the Great Depression. Is that during or just after the? No, it's during the Great Depression, I believe.
Yeah, it's during.
So it's a Great Depression era story about. Is it about capitalism? No, it's not. Well, sort
No,
of.
you touched on it.
Yeah.
It's, or rather, you described kind of the allegory apparent within his story.
Yeah, just like again about some people just going to an island, messing with things they shouldn't, hauling it back in chains, bringing it back to entertain the masses.
You can take it on different levels, I think.
Yeah.
Which is also definitely a plus, probably for both Godzilla and Kong.
I'm just wondering because that's the thing. The story of King Kong, the original story of King Kong, is a tragedy. You know, it doesn't in any way glorify the actions of the people in it. You know, it's creepy that a monkey falls in love with a or is bewildered by a beautiful blonde woman, but
Yeah, I wouldn't say falls in love with.
yeah, I think bewildered is the correct term. You know, I think that's just a bit of man writing from the 30s, but I don't know that movie. That again, I sort of want to like not give credit to the original because it's like so old and dated and from a different time where morals weren't right, like morals don't quite align with today's. But again, it's a tragedy, and they knew it was a tragedy, and that was the point. The point was that we do horrible things to other people and to animals, and we're cruel, and we do this for our own entertainment. And then when they act as anyone would, when in chains and in bondage, they lash out, they try to break out, and then we put them down. Like it is a poignant lesson. I think it's I love King Kong. Love King Kong. And
I believe it. I'm starting to realize just how much.
This is a very similar thing. Like this movie, going back to this movie, Kong Skull Island, it is about, for very similar reasons, the Cold War, the competitive nature of the Cold War. I mean, that maybe that's like putting it lightly. Competitive nature is putting the arms race very lightly, but that's why they go to the island. It's about territory and securing potential resources. They're really just like the thinnest. It's like the thinnest excuse for going to the island, which is the Russians might get there first. So if something's there, we want to be there first.
Didn't that kind of motivate pretty much all government level decisions of like that decade?
Yes,
several
and
decades.
That is the commentary. That is the commentary
so that's
it's making.
kind of like it's just par for the course at this time.
Yeah, it was that. It was like that's how everybody got funding because it was like, well, the Russians might beat us, and there you go.
Let's go to the moon.
Let's go to the moon. We gotta get there before the Russians
The
do.
moon? Are you serious? Well, the Russians already put a
It's like-
satellite up. We're doing it.
They got a man. They got a man in space. It goes like fuck, and so
God.
God,
Those
God
damn
damn it.
Russians.
all right, and so yeah, that's just for them to get. But John Goodman's character, he plays a guy who he's searching for monsters because he knows they exist. He believes they exist.
Right.
He was a survivor of a monster attack during World War II. And
okay.
like the official story was that the ship went down in battle, but then he knows what he saw. He was the only survivor, and he spent the last few decades pulling whatever resources he can together in order to prove that monsters exist. And so he believes there's something on this island. He believes he could find a monster, but nobody else believes him because they believe he's a crackpot conspiracy theorist, which he is. But he knows he's right about this.
I remember him in the movie for sure. I honestly couldn't remember his role. Was he kind of the start of Monarch?
Yes, he's the start of Monarch, or like one of the starts of Monarch. The earliest known leader in Monarch.
Okay.
And so
How interesting. What a chameleon.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember what he did, but just the fact that I know he was there.
Well, see, what he did lose he did lose a bit of weight, I believe. I think he was looking a little more jaunty, if that's the right word. Like his look, it wasn't the same John Goodman look we remember, right?
It's not Roseanne John Goodman.
It's not Roseanne John Goodman. It's a tortured John Goodman who
So
knows
10 Cloverfield Lane.
he's an Ahab. He's a Captain Ahab searching for the white whale.
Right.
And that's what his motivations are in the film.
Did
Right.
they show what monster he saw in World War II that motivated him? It wasn't
No.
Kong, was it?
No.
Or something else?
He was on a battleship, so the logical assumption that it was Godzilla that took down his battleship. And so
Right.
I think that's just the assumption because there's these giant claw marks across the photos that he has of the ship.
Okay.
And that's
And
just
then-
what's up?
Remind me, his character, he didn't go to the island at all, right? He was
He
just
did,
the beginning
yeah.
of the movie. Oh,
No,
he did. He did
go to the island. He did go to the island. I won't say a lot of people. A lot of people went to the island, and
Was he working with Brie Larson, her character?
I think they share very little screen time. They don't share any screen time at all. I don't think.
Well, because she's the photographer, right?
She's the
hired
photographer. She's the
by
war
John
journalist.
Goodman, I'm assuming. Yeah. Oh, right.
Yeah,
right,
she's the war journalist. Cataloging the war, trying to put a stop to the war through journalism. She represents that angle of it all. And then opposite her is Samuel L. Jackson, who plays the colonel, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's the colonel who's like disappointed that they're pulling out of Vietnam. He doesn't want the war to end because all of it's wasted, all of it's meaningless if they pull out. And they are pulling out. And this mission to go to this island. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have said pull out, but they were pulling out of Vietnam. And so
Thought they were.
So this mission is sort of a last hoorah for him. Or it was supposed to be, right? Supposed to be something simple, supposed to be something easy. And this fucking monkey shows up out of nowhere. And now he hates this monkey. So like the role of Ahab goes from John Goodman to Samuel L. Jackson. They're both Ahabs.
Between the two of them.
Between the two of them. Except one knew the monster existed. The other one's learning for the first time. And now together they have to take down Kong. Which is essentially their goal. Well, again, John Goodman's just out for proof. He's out for proof. Samuel L. Jackson wants to kill that monkey. How do you kill a monkey that big? Only he knows.
I think, because as soon as they arrived, the monkey blew up like most of his troops, right?
I'm trying not to spoil anything, but you're right. The monkey kills a lot of people.
that happens in like the first act. That's pretty
Yeah.
early on. That motivates kind of what's going on. Sorry, but you're right. I'm not
No, no, it's all
not
right.
trying to give it away.
We
But
won't say who dies. We won't say who dies, but we are given a good like character synopsis on each of the major members of the cast and crew, right? Brie Larson, the war photographer, she is again a war photographer. She sort of has the human element of it. The as you one would expect from a journalist, she's there to cover to find out what's going on. Why is there's this top secret military operation going on? What is it about? She just wants to know, right? She's going to do her job as a journalist and find out. And she's one of the people that mainly interacts with the indigenous people of Skull Island. And she reaches out, she gets to know them, finds out there's people who live here. She's the one sort of, she's supposed to be, she's the closest thing we have to the pretty blonde lady that Kong is supposed to be enthralled with. But
I don't think does she ever take on. She doesn't even get close to Kong, does she?
she gets close to Kong, yeah. But it's not like the
She doesn't
blonde
really
lady.
take on that role, right?
No.
Like there's no connection between the two of them.
Not no, not a connection like the original story. So like
Yeah.
you it's not like a weird bewilderment that Kong has with her, right? But she does have screen time with Kong,
Okay.
right?
Oh
And it's,
yeah, you know I do remember that.
yeah, she has screen time with Kong, and I'm just gonna say it's not weird, it's not creepy like the original. It's she's just another person who's interacting with Kong, and learning that there's more than meets the eye to this so-called monster, and
The big monkey.
the big monkey, right? It's just a fun movie. There's one character who's like sort of sees Kong in the distance and just says, "Is that a monkey?" And it's great. I love it. It's this movie has everything I want. It has deep allegorical meaning. It has silly jokes, giant monkeys, creepy creatures,
A lot of action.
a lot of action, a lot of stylized action shots. It's really
Yeah.
good. Just like even from like in the first act, just like traveling through the camera traveling through this portion of what I believe is Saigon at night or somewhere else in Vietnam is just really interesting to watch, really gorgeous. So all of those scenes are just like packed full of extras and packed full of detail and characters. It's just really good. The movie is so well made that I believe it's worth a watch. Like, if I'm being honest, it shouldn't be as good as it is. It shouldn't be as much as a feast for the eyes as it is. But that movie is not lazy at all. Like, you could really, like, it's a monster movie. You could really phone in like quite a few things, and then the main monster fans was still gonna go watch it. They're gonna you can make them they make them like cash grabs. They really do. If you watch like Godzilla King of Monsters, like I was just happy they had Rodan in it, like fucking the big pterodactyl monster, and they're like, oh, he's in a volcano in
flaming
Mexico.
Pterodactyl.
What's up?
The flaming pterodactyl monster.
Exactly,
Like,
the
literally
flame.
flaming.
Yeah, they added that to him, and I'm just like, I love it, and that was all I needed. All I needed was just like, it's coming at us, and then they dodge, and then that's all I needed from Godzilla, because my needs are simple when it comes to Godzilla. I need Godzilla plus one more monster, plus two more monsters, plus three more monsters. Like, it's the more monsters the better. Like, it's great.
But you're implying that this monster you don't like as much.
Mm-hmm.
All you need is a bunch more monsters, and you're happy.
And I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna consume that content, and I'm gonna just forget about it the next day. Like, it's a cash grab, it's a popcorn flick, but it's also turn your brain off fun. And so it's like,
But you're saying with Kong,
with Kong, I could rewatch it over and over and over again, and I could appreciate it in different ways. And
that's because you like Kong more, like just the story of Kong. And
no, I'm saying this movie in particular, like Kong, I think is also an interesting story. But if there were 20 King Kong movies, it would suffer the same problem that Godzilla suffers, which is it just becomes a popcorn franchise, which is just like,
Well, you
watch the
say the
next
word
one.
franchise, they're the same franchise.
They're in the same franchise now, right? Like there was like one, I think there's like three crossover movies from the old movies where
Yeah.
King Kong shows up to fight Godzilla, and I think that's really it. Godzilla King Kong makes appearances in the Kong movies. I mean, Jesus Christ, I'm getting all the names confused. Kong shows up in the Godzilla movies in the past, yeah, but he's not like, it's not really about him. It's really mainly about Godzilla. That's the thing. Like Godzilla works differently.
People like Godzilla more. That's
People
what I'm
do like
thinking.
Godzilla
I like
more.
Godzilla more.
People like giant lizards more than they like giant monkeys. It's the same. I will spoil Godzilla versus Kong.
Don't
I
you dare.
I will spoil it because I think you can miss it. I think it was a popcorn flick that so much of that movie I wanted it.
You know-
I wanted it to be a rule where I didn't shit talk a movie, but I'm not. I don't want to shit talk Godzilla versus Kong, right? It's a fun movie. A lot of it doesn't make sense. A lot of it doesn't make sense because it uses science fiction as an excuse to get away with things.
It gets a little lost. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's this.
Frequently.
Well, I know a lot of people when they're attempting to review movies, kind of use the studio as like an easy like excuse. Like, oh, the studio must have ruined it. The studio executives, they didn't let the director see to his vision. But yeah, I think just overall that movie, I liked it. Yeah, it was fun, but yeah, I think it got lost. Just they were just trying to throw monsters at us,
I'm gonna, and
which
you know
they
what?
did, and I think
and-
they just didn't care to do more.
This is what I'm saying, right? It's still a fine movie if it knows exactly what it is, and it's just trying to do that, which is you got Godzilla, you add another monster, that's King Kong. Then you add another monster on top of that. Who's that other monster? You say?
They don't do it.
There's another monster. There's another monster. I love him.
There's a couple, aren't there?
No, it's
No,
just
yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
Well, there are other
There's
creatures.
like those minor monsters. Yeah.
There's those minor monsters that Kong beats up and kills. You got to have those because Kong is so good at fighting. I'm so much more interested in watching Kong fight than Godzilla fight in these
How
movies.
can you say that?
What?
Would you like it if I showed up at your doorstep and I opened my mouth and shot you a hole in you with a big blue laser?
It's. I wouldn't like it. No. Okay. But that's
Yeah.
what Godzilla does. Okay. Godzilla, he destroys entire cities, and it takes us forever to like. That was such a Godzilla trope. Godzilla's destroying the city. We don't know why. Godzilla walked away from the city he destroyed. Then he
Why is anyone asking why? It's a big monster.
It's a big
who's ever
because
who cares
there's
about why?
well the scientists care. Like why? Why did Godzilla suddenly destroy the city? Because again, like
retroactively, the scientists look into that, but I don't know. I don't think anyone running from the monster
no, not
you know,
during.
in the city with him in the background, stepping on a building is like, it's Godzilla.
Well,
Why is he here?
Well, going back to you're right. That's silly of me to say, but going back to that thing where, for the scientists, they understand that Godzilla is this creature, this force of nature, part of the ecosystem, and so when Godzilla seeks out to destroy something, they understand that Godzilla perceives it as a threat, and so when he just goes and attacks a random city, they're like, what sort of threat could he have foreseen or saw or detected or smelled? God forbid, that Godzilla had to show up and just wreck shit. Like, what was Godzilla doing? That's what the scientists are looking for. Like, during that active, like, they're flying over, they're like, what's he doing? What's going on? And then you have, like Team A, Team B, Team C, and then Team A is like, what's going on? Team B is on another subplot figuring that out, and Team C is figuring some shit out for Kong. And they're all gonna meet at this point where Godzilla fights Kong. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna spoil the fucking movie. I'm spoil the fucking movie. Godzilla
How about
wins.
we don't and get back to the movie at hand?
Okay, so Kong Skull Island is just a better movie. It just
You
is.
keep you keep saying how it's not lazy and you just like it so much, and I like it a lot too. But I fail to see where it goes that extra leap, where a movie is truly phenomenal. It's just you're banging on doors telling all your friends like you have to go see it now. What if you could put it into one describe it in one thing, like one idea? What's the main idea? What is it about it, this laziness that you say it avoids so much? Like how is it doing that?
The human characters are so much better. They're so much better
Okay.
written, and I can encapsulate that in just John C. Reilly's character in Kong Skull Island. His character is the best character of that movie.
I still don't know how I feel about John C. Riley.
You're supposed to be confused and conflicted because he's a weird man. He's a strange man,
Yeah.
and he is an odd type of everyman. Like, because
Yeah.
he fills this sort of role where just like he's the older, weirder uncle. Like, that's my position, right? He's just like this weird uncle that just like, but you
Yeah.
know him really well. You do feel for him. He's a three-dimensional, like John C. Reilly usually plays three-dimensional characters, unless he's playing with Will Ferrell. But
We were both heading that direction. Yep, I was gonna mention it at some point.
yeah, but John C. Reilly is such a great actor, and
I do like him. Yeah.
he plays such an endearing character in Kong Skull Island. He plays a veteran of World War II who was stranded on Skull Island during World War II, and had to learn
I thought
to
we
get
were
along with
avoiding
it.
spoilers.
It's the opening of the movie. He's the first character you see. A young John C. Reilly
Isn't
crash
it kind of
lands.
a-
What?
Isn't it kind of a reveal?
I-
We see him crash land, but we meet him again later.
We meet him again later, so it is a bit of a
that's
reveal.
unexpected.
It's unexpected that he did in fact survive all those
Yeah.
years on Skull Island, and he tells you how he survived, and it's a touching
His
story.
character, yeah, his story. I get that. I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
That the human stories, the human characters are much better
So much
compared
better.
to any other similar like monster movie or other Kong movie.
Even just like the cast of Vietnam soldiers, they're so
Yeah.
good. The actors that they got to play them are so good. Let me pull up the cast real quick just so I can mention these minor characters, quote unquote minor characters.
They
There's-
were great. I think, yeah, so ultimately, great characters, good character stories, and then at least as far as how I feel and what I can tell is what you're saying is it's a great setting.
It's a great
Time
setting.
period and just the Skull Island itself, the indigenous peoples, the not goofy, but just the pretty out there characters kind of interspersed throughout that whole discovery. Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
Yeah. Like Tom Hiddleston, I think he's supposed to be, he's literally like the action man James Bond type, right? So he's not all that interesting. He's not all that deep. But he
He's
does
just meant to look good.
He's just meant to look good, but he is that sort of reliable man. He's the guy, he's literally the guy where he's like, we need to bring you out of retirement. We need you for one last mission. And
Yeah,
he's
wasn't he just coming off of another mission, and they're just like, "You got it. We're sending you over this way."
exactly. He's literally that guy. We're just like, we have a mission with unknown parameters. We know nothing about what's gonna happen. We need a man who can do the unpredictable, or something like that, right? So he's that character. He's that guy who's like, I'll do it for the money, right? And then he meets Brie Larson. They fall in love. They don't fall in love. There's no romantic subplots in this movie, but he does.
There's a little bit of connection, right?
There's some chemistry because he does open up and
Chemistry,
talk about opens up and talks about his past and his feelings and what he's doing, but he's not a major. Even he's technically not a major character, even though he got top billing, I believe. And then Samuel Jackson is Samuel Jackson. Like he's great in it. He's this colonel named Preston Packard, alliteration there, and it's his whole emotional journey in the film is very interesting. He has an emotional journey. He has an emotional journey
Yeah,
because
he
of
goes
like
from angry to more angry.
I wouldn't say he goes from angry to more angry. I would say he starts off sad and disappointed because there's no more war, because the US has decided to pull out of the war. He's disappointed. He sort of feels like his life has become meaningless.
Isn't he also angry about that? He's angry.
He's upset. Yeah. So like when this opportunity to go on this last mission arrives, he's excited. You know, he
Right,
smiles.
yeah.
He's like, "Thank you, sir," and he's ready to go take his men off this last hurrah, right, and do more interesting things, right? He's gonna get back out there and do something else, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be good, right? And then he gets there, and it's the worst fucking time of his life. It's possibly one of the it's possibly it is the worst, not possible, it is the worst fucking thing that could have happened to him, like as a commander of men, of soldiers, and he is out for blood at that point. And so it becomes fury, it becomes
Monkey
righteous
blood.
fury and zeal, and that carries him through the rest of the movie. And that's his motivation, his character's motivation for making all of the stupidest decisions possible, because his objectives are completely different than most of the other characters. Most of the other characters are just trying to survive and get off the island. He's out to kill Kong, and to sort of display how to use that in order to justify what could traditionally be like, you know, in a traditional monster or horror slasher movie, they'd be like, we're running away, and then like, you know, it's like, we're gonna do something stupid, we're gonna get closer to the monster for no reason. Like, no, run away, what are you doing, leave, just leave. And you know, the more poorly written horror monster movies are like that, where just like characters for some reason have an odd compulsion to just fucking do something, like to just like do something stupid, right? Whereas Colonel Packard, Samuel L. Jackson, he's like, no, I'm a soldier, I'm a commander of men, I have a plan to kill this fucking thing. And that plan is stupid and foolhardy, but it's something only the military would do, not someone who's trying to survive. It's stupid if you're trying to leave. It's not stupid if you are trying to accomplish in a certain objective, to destroy somebody or something, which again is allegorical to the Vietnam War. Like it's a series of stupid, horrible things being done because their objectives were to torch the fucking place. Like it's, again, it just works so well. This movie's just so well written, right? And then, but I wanted to mention the smaller characters, right? The quote unquote smaller characters. You have, who is this guy? Yeah, you got Jason Mitchell, who played Eazy-E in Straight Outta Compton, right? I think that came out around the same time. And he plays just one of the soldiers. He's just one of the soldiers, one of the pilots, because they're all helicopter pilots, right? They're all part of
They're part of a helicopter corps.
Yeah, a helicopter corps. And he's just one of the pilots, and you are concerned for his life. Like a bunch of the other characters. It's Jason Mitchell, right? And then, hold on a second. It's Jason Mitchell, and then Shea Wingham, right? Great actor, love him in everything he does. He's in so much stuff. He's gonna be in Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 and 2. He's in Perry Mason. He's in The Gray Man. He's in Gaslit. He has such a long list of things. The first time I saw him was in Boardwalk Empire, and he plays this really weird wild card character to not Corey Hawkins, to Jason Mitchell's everyman, straight man. This young man who is just a pilot and a soldier. He just wants to get home, and so you really feel for him. You root for him to make it back. But he has this older mentor and partner in Shea Wingham, who is there, who's again this weird older dude who's like an uncle, like an older brother. Like if you had an older brother with a very large age gap, that's who he would be. And it's just like you're so much older than me. Like you're part of a different generation, and the way you think and function is different, and it's weird. And he's just so not necessarily jaded, but weathered as a human being. Like he's been through so much shit that he's just like, life is what it is, and I'm gonna do whatever I can. And these two characters together, along with some of the other soldiers, they really just make the story of survival much more appealing to the human character. I have to let out this cat. I'll be right back. I don't know if you could hear him.
We couldn't, but
Oh, no,
now back to what I was saying. See, Josh, he's in the middle of a podcast, but he had no choice. He had to respond to the cat's beck and call. I'm a little concerned for his life.
You're gonna say hi to everybody since you're so fucking loud in the background. This is Butters.
Did you say Butters?
Butters, this is Butters. He looked more like a Butters when he was a kitten. Now he can't now he's too strong. He's too strong now. I should have.
I'm not a South Park guy.
Well, yeah. So Butters is just like a very soft character, right? Like, oh god, he's so strong now. I should have neutered him when he was younger. Ugh, I still need to neuter him. So much hair.
How old is he?
He's, I think, coming up on a year. He's too old.
Why does he still have those danglers?
We just never got around to it.
We'll get around to it.
We're gonna get around to it, okay? I'll probably take him tomorrow because I'll have time tomorrow. But hopefully, because he needs it.
Yes.
Gotta snip him, because he's way too aggressive. He's
because you didn't get this handled 6 months ago.
He's so strong. Such a good boy.
You know what you have to do now? You have to get them cut off, and then you have to ask for them. You have to keep them. You put them in a clear jar, and you keep it on your shelf to intimidate the cat.
That is like the most demented thing I've ever heard you say. Like, even as a joke. Like, that is so fucked up. That is the darkest thing I've ever heard you say.
You're the one cutting his balls off, and I don't know why I'm being attacked as the dark, demented one.
Have you heard? No, I'm not gonna get into the noises cats make. Okay, I'm not gonna.
I haven't heard anything.
Because you properly spayed and neutered. If you do it right, you don't got to worry about anything. Anyway, getting back to the movie, right? What was I saying? The characters are just so great, right? Just so great. Corey Hawkins plays number 2 to John Goodman's. He is this sort of nerdy scientist. Again, early.
Number 2.
He is his number 2. Was it? Get your mind out of the gutter. Get your mind out of the gutter.
Just cut the cat's balls off.
Jesus Christ. Oh my god. Can't tell you anything. Oh my god. So again, he plays John Goodman's number 2, and then you just took it out of it. You just took it out. You just winded me. Just winded me with that, right? There's a lot of characters. I would say not all of them are, used a lot, but I would say for the amount of screen time they each get, they're used effectively. What is this cat doing? Oh my god.
Even though the cats have been fed and taken care of, Josh needs to respond.
One day I'll have an actual, just room to record in without cats, just fucking around with paper in the background. And
can I ask, to Henry's chagrin, how much longer are we going here?
How much longer? How long?
We're a little long if we want to keep to an hour. But
damn, we're already at an hour and 10. God damn. I don't know. I think I got around to selling the movie. I think I got around to it eventually.
Well, I think there was a lot of nonsense.
Of course, there was a lot of nonsense.
But within there, I think we did. Yeah. You did. You definitely talked it up a lot. There's Can I just say real quick?
This can be as long as we want. We don't. Yeah, go on.
Well, I don't know. I feel like we should keep to a certain format.
We should.
I looked up the movie
Uh-huh.
on Wikipedia, and then I looked up the director because I was wondering what else he'd done.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen this man?
I've seen him in an interview. I don't remember what he looks like. Is he brown? I believe he's brown. Let me.
No.
So Kong Skull Island. I'm on. Oh, hold on a second. Jordan
Vogt
Roberts. He's not brown. Why did I remember him being
No.
brown?
But look at that beard.
That is a beard. That is a beard.
Just damn. He's
Let's
the
see
right
here.
man to direct the MonsterVerse.
He is. Let's see here. He did the Destiny 2 New Legends Will Rise live action trailer. He did that.
Oh.
And then he
it
did a
seems like-
TV series called You're the Worst. Don't know what that's about. But he's currently doing Metal Gear Solid. He's in pre-production for the Metal Gear Solid movie.
It's a movie? Oh, wow.
It's a movie. And
Wait,
not
how
that.
did-
What?
How did this happen?
What do you mean?
The very last line of his career, in 2021, it was announced that Vogt Roberts would direct a live-action adaptation of Gundam. How did we get back to Gundam?
I don't know.
What did you do?
I was just clicking. I was just looking at that now. I didn't know that was.
It's
I didn't
been
know
on my
that's to come.
page, on my screen this whole time. How did?
Yeah.
Why?
Says,
Why
says
is it always back
Gundam
to
1, the
Gundam?
live action movie. So yeah, it's all things come back to Gundam.
Apparently.
So I love Gundam. Okay. So he did a show on FXX that looks like it's a romantic comedy. Blah
Why
blah
are you
blah.
spelling it out? That
What?
network is called Fux.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Thank you for correcting me. But basically, like, I think just based off Kong Skull Island, I trust him with properties because there's so much care and attention into how that movie was made.
Yeah, but that might not necessarily be him because that really seems to be his only like major feature he's directed.
That's true.
Not to say I think he would make, other projects and they wouldn't be that good, but I don't see any other movies really, not that much here on his filmography. So I would be curious to see what else he does. I don't feel strong about Metal Gear Solid the movie, but you know,
I
never
mean,
know.
here's the problem, and we will go a little long just for me to go over this problem with these movies based off video games and based off other properties. Problem.
The age-old debate.
The age-old. The reason why a lot of these things, and society has gone through this recently with the Resident Evil TV show, and I think we've spoken about it briefly before. Not sure if it was on the podcast.
I don't think I told you. I just caught up on that.
You just
So,
caught up on that? Okay.
Yeah, I just watched it. So, we could.
Yeah. I don't know. People are saying it's terrible.
We could.
But
It wasn't that bad. I think it's all the diehard like Resident Evil fans.
look,
Because
I've played.
It's definitely a departure from the previous media.
I've played 2. I've seen playthroughs of 4. I've played 5 several times. Love 5. Seen playthroughs of 6. Seen playthroughs of 7. Seen playthroughs of 8. Right? I'm being honest. Like, I'm not the biggest Resident Evil fan, but some of those Resident Evil games are straight up stupid. They're just straight up stupid. They're not great.
so-
Like, most of them are not great. 7, what I saw from 7, wonderful, absolutely wonderful, creepy, but in 8, it's going back to the campiness. It's creeping back in that weird campiness.
But
Came
who's
back.
to say that that's bad? Isn't that kind of part of the charm?
I feel
Those
like
games are so old. It's like
they are so old. I feel like we've done like a full cycle of like Resident Evil. Of like, I think this is just how Resident Evil plays out, right? You had the first game, which is again just like moody. It was scary because of the gameplay, right? But then the writing was quite terrible, right? And then you had 2 where the writing got better and it was still scary. And then you had 3, which again, the writing got better, still scary. And then 4, people would say 4 is the peak. I heard a lot of people say that back in the day. But I think 4 is where Leon Kennedy becomes secret agent man and goes to a faraway foreign country and starts killing the indigenous people who are possessed by fucking virus bombs or some shit, right? And let's say they're possessed. They're zombie people.
That's
and
interesting that they're possessed by a virus.
I don't know. They're infected or whatever. I don't know. They're very mean. And that's where the campiness begins to creep in, you know? Where he goes he goes, Leon Kennedy, we need you to save the president's daughter. It's literally the plot. Literally the plot. Whereas the first game, which is we need to arrest this.
The president's daughter is important.
The president's daughter is
than
important,
any other daughter.
but it's a campy movie. That's a campy movie premise.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so look at Resident Evil 1. We need to go in and arrest this man, and something's weird, something creepy's going on here, right? And then 2, it's Raccoon City is fault. It's a whole city, it's just people trying to survive. 3, also Raccoon City, people just trying to survive and bigger conspiracies going on, right? In 2 and 3, right? 4, save the president's daughter. Conspiracies. And then go to 5 and goes, Chris Redfield, we need you to go to Africa. There's something freaky going on. And, then there's, bioterrorism and all that. So it's still just campiness is just ticked up a little bit based off of 4. Right, so he's not a secret agent, but he's part of like the BSAA. We're coming in to save the world from. We're doing our job, trying to make sure these bioweapons don't get into the wrong hands. Like he's just a cop. He's more like a DEA agent. So if anything, the premise sort of like ticks down from campiness. But then at the end of the game, he's punching a fucking boulder. Like he's punching a boulder to get it out of the way to fight Wesker. Like it's extremely campy and stupid by the end of it. And then 6, so fucking campy. It was no longer scary. It was an action game. People didn't fucking like it for the most part. And then 7 brought it all back. Brought it all back to scary. Brought it back to creepy. The characters, the infected people were in fact victims. It was so interesting to watch. So much more interesting. I'm not going to fucking play that game. That game looks terrifying. But it was such an interesting story. And what's up?
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
You went through the list of like all the ones you've played and watched and went through.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to go over Code Veronica and the Revelations.
No. The extent of my list is I'm aware of some memes from the 7th and 8th game. I'm aware of like a very big lady.
Mm-hmm. Very big lady.
That's about all I got. This new show.
She's one of the reasons why like it's becoming campy again.
You got a problem with the big lady?
I don't have a problem with big ladies, but I'm just saying fan service is typically not like a great thing. In 5 you had a very similar thing. A lady in a white dress with a lot of cleavage. Like they did that in 5. Who's a villain. They did it in 5, right? And then they brought it back. It was like, let's do that again, but like double her height. And like all of her, just double all of her. And it'll be great. And he goes, people will love it. And they did. They did love it. For all of the intended reasons. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, of course.
And so, but 8 becomes campy again because it's the character, you play as the same guy from 7, but instead of just being this guy who's looking for his missing girlfriend or missing fiance, you're now like, you survived the last game. We've put you through military training. You now know what to do in case this happens again. Because guess what, buddy? It's happening again. They've stolen your baby, and now you need to track them down to an Eastern European town and get your baby back. You got to the south Eastern European town, but guess what? They've chopped your baby up into multiple pieces. But through the power of science, you can put her back together. What?
Put her back together.
Your baby has been split into 4 to 5 parts approximately. I don't remember how many. Collect all pieces of your baby to put her back together.
Come on, that's pretty creepy.
You gotta collect pieces of your child?
Yeah. Ugh. I don't know. I haven't played the games. I just said
I do want to play 8 because 8 does not look nearly as scary as 7 because again, you take away like this. Seven was so grounded with this family that's been mutated into these monsters, and they're haunting you. They're like ghosts haunting this house. It's so fucking eerie and creepy. And you never know when they're gonna get you. But then like the next game, you literally have like a werewolf man who has an army of werewolves, and then you have like a marionette doll. Like it's.
I think I mean I knew this about you. I've known you for a long time, but I'm seeing it again, just kind of realizing parts of your personality. I think you are very emotionally impacted by character stories.
I am.
Which
Deeply.
is probably another big part of why you enjoyed Kong so much.
It is why I enjoyed Kong so much. Thank you for wrapping that back around. But it's because you can see a through line as to like what I like as a person and what I feel is, because I feel like good character and good delivery. There's multiple things that make something watchable, but if those things are done really well, they become mainstays, and I believe they become like, we have all this fucking content, just to bring it back to the premise of this whole fucking podcast, right? There's so much to fucking watch. I just got Hulu. There's dozens upon dozens of shows. I'm sorry. I know I was supposed to get Apple TV Plus. I'm sorry.
It's not. I didn't tell you like you have to go get it. I just, of all things, we record that episode. I spend a whole episode talking to you about this great show, and then you come back 2 days later and you're like, okay, Matt, I got a streaming service. It's not the one you told me about.
I'll watch it tomorrow.
That'd be great if you did. I'm not saying you have to. I'm just, why Hulu?
I think I should. I think I should follow through on the promise of what this show is, which is like we're recommending good content to watch, and then if I don't watch it, then what does that say about us? Like it's
no. Well, I mean, there's only so much one person can watch at a time. You know, it's obviously depending on how much we're talking about stuff. That could really add up. Ted Lasso's already 2 full seasons. That's going to be a lot. You can do it in a couple days, but it's a lot.
I'm not going to watch all of it in a couple of days. Maybe I will, depending on how good it is. But we'll see.
But what if next time we talk about another show and there's 5 seasons of that? You know, like I'm just saying it adds up. So I'm not hassling you. I'm not saying you have to go and watch the things I tell you to. But I just... What was on Hulu? What motivated Hulu? I have Hulu.
What motivated me to get Hulu, because it's been a long time coming. Getting Hulu's been a long time coming. They have Brooklyn Nine-Nine. They have a lot of shows that I like, right? Prey, the new movie Prey has come out on Hulu. I'm like, I gotta get Hulu so I can watch Prey at least. And there's all these other shows. There's Always Sunny. There's a ton of shows, like that new show Mike about Mike Tyson's gonna be on Hulu. I can't wait for that show. I was like, oh, all these great shows. Unfortunately, none of those shows are the reason why I got Hulu. The reason why I got Hulu is because the spin-off of the show Letterkenny, Shoresy, came out. Yeah, came out on Hulu, and I'm like, I need to watch this now. So as soon as I found out about that show existing, I immediately got out my car. Ooh, look at the kitty. There's a cat. There's another cat, but it's not on my screen. Look at him. He wants to leave. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
That was my bad. She's okay.
Yeah.
She's very flexible. That cat throws herself all over the place. I didn't hurt her. She just happened to be like, "No, I'm over this," and she jumped down. I don't normally pick up the cat, so that's probably why that happened.
Anyway, Shoresy is the reason why I got Hulu. But again, we've gone over quite a bit. We're now at an hour 24. And so I apologize to the audience for the rambling and for my tangents. But I hope I got the point across. Kong Skull Island is just a superior movie compared to the rest of the Monsterverse. You know, it's just like
I disagree.
Oh my god, what's better than fucking Kong Skull Island? Jesus Christ.
Big lizard. Big lizard better than monkey.
Big lizard better. Well, they show that. Oh, never mind. You're gonna get me to talk another 15 minutes about these goddamn movies if you keep saying shit like this. All right, we're gonna end the podcast here. Maybe we'll do a part 2. All right, maybe we'll do part 2.
No, 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 no,
No, no, no, no, no. Then
Let's move
stop.
on.
Stop egging me on. All right, this has been the I almost forgot the title of my own goddamn podcast.
I fucking told you. I fucking told you, Josh. Josh, god damn it, you gotta change it.
No. Oh, we'll find a better name. What do you think of Eat With Your Eyes?
I think it needs a catchy like nickname or something with the initials or I don't know.
I don't know. What do you think of Eat With Your Eyes?
No, God. What the hell is that?
Eat with your eyes. It's content you consume, things to watch.
Why are you alienating blind people?
I'm sorry, blind people. But, we're talking about movies. They're not really our core demographic to begin with.
You don't know. It's a podcast.
It's a podcast. I'm
Podcasts
sorry. I'm sorry, blind people.
Audio podcast.
Oh, my God. I'm so sorry. Okay. I'm
Kong
so sorry.
Skull Island, currently, at the date of release, available, it looks like, on HBO Max.
Yes. It is a Warner Brothers property. It's good. Get it wherever you can. Whether that be HBO Max or Blockbuster. Or
Damn, I was going to say. Or Hollywood Video.
or Hollywood Video.
Back. Let's bring it back.
Let's bring back Hollywood Video. I remember those days. Fond memories of walking down those aisles and not being able to find a fucking thing to watch. And just renting Mortal Kombat for the 15th time.
I feel like I don't remember having that issue. We used to go every week. Every weekend, like on Friday, we'd go to the video store and rent a couple movies for the week.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember having that issue.
We should really end the podcast. But one last little story. It's during the height of near the end of Blockbuster, right? Of my local Blockbuster, near the end when Netflix was still doing DVDs, right? Streaming wasn't quite out yet. So they were just having to compete with the DVD business, the mail-in DVD side of Netflix that surprisingly still exists. And they were having a special where you too could have a subscription from Blockbuster and do the exact same thing, mail in your DVDs. But on top of that, because they had the brick and mortar, you could get your DVD. You could just go to the Blockbuster, return your DVD to the Blockbuster, and then pluck off a DVD off of their shelves. And that would count as your DVD. And they had different tiers, like 1 DVDs or 2 DVDs. I got the 2 DVDs, and that included the games. So you could rent games too. I think that summer, I think it was only 1 or 2 summers where they had that before they ultimately shuttered. I went in multiple times a day because I was in high school.
Oh my God.
I had a bicycle. I lost so much weight riding my bike back and forth. Multiple times a day because the thing is, it was unlimited, right? It was unlimited. You only paid a certain amount of money a month, like $10-15 a month, so that we can get like unlimited 2 DVDs. So I would literally, like, I watched a lot because of Netflix. I watched a lot of old Godzilla movies, right? But then I got this DVD thing, and I just like went through like a bunch of like horror movies, a bunch of action flicks. Like I consumed so much content within those 2 summers that like most of it's now been deleted because there was in fact so little worthwhile to watch. It's wrapping back into the purpose of the podcast, but its point is I watch a lot of fucking content, and this is the reason why.
What's this podcast called again?
Huh?
That's nothing. Go on.
What's this podcast called again? You said it's called Consume Content. All right.
God.
And I went back to that store multiple times a day, played multiple games, watched multiple movies. I would go in the morning when they opened, pick out 2 movies, go home, come back 4 or 5 hours later, pick 2 more movies, and then like I would go at least like twice to Blockbusters a day, and just like every other day, and just keep watching movies. So
You're a crazy person.
I am, but I love content. All right, this podcast is now my life's purpose. All right, I have to do something with mountains of content I've consumed over my life. You understand? And just deliver a list to people of like good shit to watch.
A list?
It's a list, goddammit. It's still a list, all right? Not many other people have a list, okay? All right, it goes, top 100 movies of all time. It's been the same fucking list for 20 years, okay? It's the same fucking list. Everybody's seen those movies. Those are obvious to watch, okay? Some of these movies, well, maybe not obvious to watch, right? But some of these movies, just to give you guys a teaser, right? I'm going to talk about the show Arcane. I'm going to talk about the Jackie Chan film The Foreigner, right? I'm talking about Star Trek Discovery. I feel like that's gotten passed over. With so much Star Trek content, like, people have missed out on, like, the good Star Trek versus, like, the okay Star Trek. Bumblebee. So many people skipped out on Bumblebee.
That's
because
true, they did. That was a good one.
So many people skipped out on that, right? Asher's The Evil Dead. You know, it's an older franchise. It's only on premium cable, but it's good. It's good pulpy. It's good pulpy comedy horror, right? Going back to Evil Dead.
Pulpy.
Pulpy. It's pulpy. The blood's not pulpy. The blood is bright red liquid, but it's pulp. And then Army of Darkness. Fantastic horror comedy from back in the day that a lot of people just like. It's a cult classic, right? It's a cult classic. Do you not know what I'm talking about?
Now I do, yeah.
Like, Army of Darkness is like so close to being kid friendly, you know? If you show Army of Darkness to, you're Googling it right now.
I gotta, here, you can't hear me.
I could hear you. I could hear you typing sometimes. I know I'm going to pick up the typing of your fucking mechanical keyboard.
Not right now.
You son of a bitch. You turned off your mic.
This microphone's got a mute.
Oh my god.
Right there.
Oh my god. Anyway, Army of Darkness. I think it's reached a certain point where there's like two generations of kids that have no fucking clue what Army of Darkness is. And I feel like they would get a huge kick out of it. You still don't know. Okay, we'll have to plan to watch Army of Darkness, right? But I have such a long list of things to watch here that are so good. Fucking John Carter bombed at the movie. I can go on forever about this list. I can go on forever.
We'll get to it next time.
We're at an hour and a half, and I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry for the rambling and the multiple attempts at ending this, but
we'll tighten it up if needed. But if anyone out there actually does listen to this, let us know.
I'm not tightening anything up. I'm not tightening anything up. It's
you and your loose asshole.
Me and my loose asshole. It comes out easier, baby. All right.
God damn it, Josh.
All right.
I thought Kong Skull Island. Get it wherever you can.
Get it wherever you can. It's a great watch.
That it is. All right.
That's been episode 3 of Consume Content with the group chat. We're the group chat. You're the group chat now. Join us on Discord to continue this discussion. If you want to continue talking about monster movies or anything else.
Or TikTok or YouTube.
Or TikTok or YouTube. I'm going to be cutting these clips up and putting them on the interwebs. Thank you. I've been Josh. This has been Matt. Goodbye.